It is the story of New Zealand's most devastating volcanic eruption in human times and the destruction of one of nature's most beautiful creations, the Pink and White Terraces.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're looking at some of nature's most beautiful sights that have tragically been lost to time.
It's difficult to imagine that this vast, dried-out terrain was once covered with water.
Number 20. Hillary Steppe on Mount Everest, Nepal. Mount Everest is the highest mountain on Earth, on the border between China and Nepal.
Mount Everest, the highest peak on Earth, holds many secrets within its icy depths, but perhaps none as mysterious as the disappearance of the iconic Hillary Steppe.
On the Nepal side, one of the most challenging parts of the climb was the Hillary Steppe. It was a huge rock face, susceptible to extremely unpredictable weather. It's named after Edmund Hillary, who was one of the first people confirmed to scale Everest's peak.
Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay faced the challenging Hillary Steppe during their historic first ascent in 1953. Its importance as a crux to the summit cannot be understated.
After an earthquake in 2015, the steppe was destroyed. It took a couple of years to confirm on account of it being covered in snow. On the bright side, climbers claim it's far easier to summit now.
The mystery surrounding the Hillary Steppe's disappearance adds intrigue to Mount Everest's climbing history, sparking debates among climbers and enthusiasts about its impact on the mountain's allure.
Number 19. Sequoia Tunnel Tree, California. Giant sequoia trees are some of the biggest trees in the world. They're so big that in the 19th and 20th centuries, there was a trend of carving out huge tunnels in them.
Giant sequoias are rare. This one, famous for the hole cut into the trunk, becoming a tourist attraction more than 100 years ago.
These were so huge, in fact, that you could drive cars or horse-drawn carriages through them. One of the most famous ones was in Calaveras Big Tree State Park, which was a tree over 1,000 years old.
Many memories were made, but all good things come to an end.
This currently where it's flattened out, this was the wall of the tree.
Heavy rains and winds over the weekend managed to topple the 2,000-year-old icon.
It attracted thousands of tourists, but eventually collapsed in 2017 due to a storm. Turns out, cutting huge holes in trees is not great for them. A few still survive, but new ones are unlikely to be made.
What started out as a little seedling 2,000 years ago, now lying here on the forest floor, rangers say it's just another phase of its life. It could lay here for another 1,000 years.
Number 18. Darwin's Arch, Darwin's Island, Galapagos, Ecuador. The Galapagos Islands lie in the eastern Pacific, governed by the Republic of Ecuador. They're home to Darwin Island, which was near Darwin's Arch. Both were named after biologist Charles Darwin, who researched evolution there.
The formation is found in the northern part of the archipelago and is considered a premier diving location. It was named after English biologist Charles Darwin, whose study of the Galapagos Islands inspired his theory of evolution.
People were not permitted to set foot on either, but that didn't stop tourists from visiting. It was a popular spot for photographers and even scuba divers. The arch was remarkably huge, carved out by years of erosion.
Ecuador's Environment Ministry says the top of the arch fell into the ocean because of natural erosion. The two sides of the structure are still standing.
Unfortunately, this erosion led to its collapse in 2021. Now, two huge pillars remain, which are currently nicknamed the Pillars of Evolution. Interestingly, some scuba divers managed to spot the collapse as it happened, which must have been a remarkable sight.
A spokesperson for the Galapagos Conservatory says while the collapse was a bit of a shock, it is all part of the natural process.
Number 17. London Bridge, Victoria, Australia. Britain's modern London Bridge was opened in 1973, but a bridge has stood in its place for almost 2,000 years. However, in Australia, there used to be a much older London Bridge.
Well, another jaw-dropping view on the Great Ocean Road. London Bridge it was called.
Unlike the one it's named after, it was entirely natural. It was similar to Darwin's Arch, with erosion creating two huge arches that naturally formed a double-span bridge. In 1990, it finally collapsed.
Commonly called London Arch these days because in 1990 the first arch across the mainland fell down, leaving just the island arch.
Two tourists ended up stuck there, but thankfully were uninjured, although they required a helicopter rescue. Many people humorously compared it to the nursery rhyme, "London Bridge is falling down."
And build it up with wood and clay, wood and clay, wood and clay. Build it up with wood and clay, my fair lady.
But wood and clay will wash away.
Number 16. Guaya Falls, Brazil and Paraguay. The border between Paraguay and Brazil used to be home to one of the greatest series of waterfalls on Earth.
The height of the waterfall was 114 meters. The Seven Falls was one of the world's most powerful waterfalls on Earth, with a flow rate twice of Niagara Falls.
It was a series of 18 waterfalls, which combined were 375 feet high. It was so loud you could hear it for 20 miles. The flow rate was mind-bogglingly big, one of the largest on Earth. Despite its wondrous beauty, it was destroyed in 1982. The Itaipu Dam was responsible, creating an artificial lake on top of Guaya Falls.
Completed in 1984, it is a binational undertaking run by Brazil and Paraguay at the border between the two countries. The project ranges from Foz do Iguaçu, in Brazil, and Ciudad del Este in Paraguay.
The silver lining is that the dam creates tons of clean electricity for Brazil and Paraguay.
They have more installed capacity with the passing of the years. But Itaipu tends to be the one that produces the most energy annually.
Number 15, Lake Popo, Bolivia. Once upon a time, Bolivia's Lake Popo was one of the world's largest saline lakes, as well as one of the highest.
Lake Popo used to stretch over 2,700 square kilometers and was the second largest lake in Bolivia. The Urus called it the navel of the world.
On average, it was only 10 feet deep, meaning its size varied annually. It had an area of over 390 square miles, but despite its huge size, it dried up entirely. It was caused by a combination of human interference, with local people using it for irrigation, as well as climate change, with the melting of glaciers in the Andes being a huge factor.
For decades, water has been diverted for mining and agricultural needs, and the lack of water has been exacerbated by higher than normal temperatures in the Andes Mountains.
It finally vanished in 2015 and is unlikely to ever return. It caused a huge loss of local wildlife, alongside harming locals' way of life.
Siento una tristeza, ¿no? Que se ha desaparecido mi lago, ¿no? Antes vivía con el lago, ahora ya no hay nada, todo desaparecido.
Number 14, 12 Apostles, Victoria, Australia. Just down the road from London Bridge, Victoria, you can find the 12 Apostles. They are huge limestone stacks that sit on the coast.
Millions of years ago, the 12 Apostles would simply have been part of the mainland of Australia. They were created by the constant erosion of the limestone cliffs. The water and the winds of the ocean have shaped them.
Don't be misled by the name. There are only 7 that stand. There used to be 9 in total, which were formed over millions of years of erosion. A 160-foot stack collapsed in 2005, then another in 2009.
Although their name suggests there were once 12 stacks, there were only 9 stacks at the beginning of this century. 2 have since collapsed. One collapsed in 2005 and the other in 2009, leaving 7 stacks.
The rest are likely to fall at some point soon, but no one can predict exactly when. So while you can still see most of it today, it's not as impressive as it was. On the bright side, more will form in the future, just not in our lifetimes.
With the ongoing erosion from the waves and wind, these will one day disappear too. But parts of the cliff nearby are expected to become new rock stacks in the future.
Number 13, Hetch Hetchy Valley, Yosemite National Park, California, USA. Native Americans used to call this valley home for centuries. It was an amazing sight, rivaling Yosemite Valley in its beauty.
Did you know that I am a mighty river? That I once careened gracefully through a majestic valley? A valley that in its day rivaled the glory of its sister.
It was created by glaciers thousands of years ago and was inhabited for over 6,000 years. It's still there today, but it's unfortunately been completely flooded. It was caused by the construction of the O'Shaughnessy Dam, completed in 1923.
Almost a century ago, the towering granite cliffs and soaring waterfalls inspired Muir to lead the battle to stop the dam.
This turned the valley into a reservoir, which provides the San Francisco area with water. It's a shame, especially since in 1890 they declared it was to be protected. Thankfully, some individuals are hoping to restore it using modern water management technology, so it may return to life.
Do you think the undamming of Hetch Hetchy is something you'll see in your lifetime?
I do. I think we will prevail.
One thing everyone can agree on is Hetch Hetchy is one special place.
Number 12, God's Finger, Gran Canaria, Spain. More commonly known by its Spanish name, El Dedo de Dios, this was a phenomenal sea stack in the Canary Islands.
Ese es el Dedo de Dios, un roque partido símbolo de Gran Canaria. Es una roca basáltica, durante millones de años se ha ido modelando hasta tener esa forma que parece un dedo.
As the name implies, it was impressively tall and thin. It took around 200,000 to 300,000 years to form. It was almost 100 feet high, which appeared to defy physics. Well, physics eventually caused its downfall during a storm in 2005.
Se llegan a alcanzar los 150 kilómetros por hora en la costa y cercanos a los 250 en zonas altas de la isla de Tenerife.
There were debates as to whether it should be restored, but the final decision was to simply preserve what remained. A large stump is still there, and the surrounding nature remains stunning, but the finger itself is long gone.
El mismo viento que lo moldeó lo ha destrozado para siempre.
Number 11. Jeffrey Pine, Yosemite National Park, California, USA. The Sentinel Dome is a massive granite dome in Yosemite.
The Sentinel Dome trail is 2.2 miles round trip and has 450 feet of elevation change.
For a long time, it was home to probably the most photographed tree in history, a Jeffrey Pine. Photographers first became enamored with it in 1867, but it tragically died in 1976 after a drought. It kept standing tall until it toppled in 2003. We believe it was approximately 400 years old, a mind-boggling age. Its corpse has been left untouched, so you can still go see it, but it won't stay forever. Of course, Yosemite is still an amazing place to visit, so a hike to the Pine would be tough to regret.
We made it to the top of the Sentinel Dome. The view is absolutely breathtaking.
The 360-degree view from the top is one of the best in the park.
Number 10. The Azure Window, Malta.
A small gift for the new Khaleesi.
Eventually, time comes for everything. Over the course of 500 years, ocean waves caused a rock to slowly erode away, eventually forming a perfect arch that exposed the water behind it. This became known as the Azure Window, which became one of Malta's crown jewels. However, the elements that had formed the structure would also lead to its downfall. As decades passed, chunks of the arch would break off. People climbing on it only contributed to the damage.
A 2013 study said erosion to the landmark was inevitable, but at the time, it wasn't in immediate danger of collapsing. And last year, the government made walking across the natural bridge a crime.
The final blow came in 2017, when a storm swept through and weakened the pillar enough to make it fall into the depths below. That night, centuries of natural work were undone, and the site has remained empty since.
Malta's Prime Minister said it always faced destruction because of natural corrosion, but described its demise as heartbreaking.
Number 9. Sycamore Gap Tree, England. Ignorance knows no bounds. For over a century, Northumberland, England's beloved Sycamore Gap Tree served as a symbol of the region. It was so beloved that it was even awarded for its stature. No one could have anticipated that it would meet its end through a single senseless act.
And this much-loved tree by Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland had stood in this gap for 300 years, and then, without warning, it was felled on Wednesday night.
In 2023, locals awoke to the sight of the tree cut down. High winds the previous night had masked the sound of it being felled, resulting in a nasty shock.
When I saw it on the television last night, I just had a lump in my throat. I feel I'm filling up now.
After several arrests, 2 men were criminally charged in 2024. While the destruction of the tree has been mourned, there is one silver lining. New seedlings from the sycamore's remnants have sprouted, meaning that generations from now, it could potentially reach the same heights as its predecessor.
The appearance of that tree in that setting was just so perfect, and to have lost that's been devastating. So to start seeing that regrowth happen, so that hopefully we'll have something again in the future at some point for future generations is really great news.
Number 8. Old Man of the Mountain, United States.
You have seen the history of the world over many centuries. Today you have fallen and its people are sad. May they be strong as you have taught them.
Some formations are so intricate that it's hard to believe they came about naturally. That's the case for the Old Man of the Mountain, a unique grouping of stone that had eroded over thousands of years into the shape of a human face. Once the subject of legends among indigenous tribes, it eventually became a local icon for New Hampshire in modern times.
It's a symbol. Done everything.
Yeah.
Signs, licenses, plates, state coin, I mean, everything.
However, fluctuating temperatures caused cracks to form throughout the 20th century. Locals tried to fix it, but despite their best efforts, it finally collapsed in 2003. The old man of the mountain may be gone, but a memorial and commemorative day ensure it won't be forgotten.
This seemed to actually replicate it like it was in your memory?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this device allows you to see what it would have looked like up there. Yeah. Very cool.
Number 7, the Larsson Ice Shelf, Antarctica. Even wonders far from the prying eyes of humans are not safe from the effects of human activity. What was once a sprawling expanse known as the Larsson Ice Shelf has slowly begun to break apart, with each collapse bringing its own set of consequences.
Ice shelves are the gatekeepers for glaciers flowing from Antarctica towards the ocean. Without them, glacier ice enters the ocean faster and faster and accelerates the pace of global sea level rise.
The first major collapse occurred in 1995, marking the end of Shelf A. Segment B followed in 2002, exposing a never-before-seen biosphere to the elements above. This alarmed scientists.
The studies have shown that 2 of the 3 glaciers feeding Larsson B have sped up massively since the shelf first split in 2002, with scientists now predicting that a major crack is likely to move all the way across the shelf, splintering the remnants into icebergs that will float away.
As global temperatures continued to rise, Shelf C began to deteriorate, leading to a massive rift that caused a huge iceberg to break off in 2017. Now, with only one stable section remaining, the platform is at risk of disappearing entirely.
There are glaciers behind the Larsson Sea that will accelerate as that goes away, that barrier disappears. And it's that ice that comes from land and into the ocean that contributes to sea level rise. So that is a small part of the equation of why we're seeing seawater in Miami Street.
Number 6, the Wona tunnel tree, United States. Even before its destruction, this tree was being exploited daily.
I have often wondered if a sequoia could speak, what stories it would tell.
Once reaching a staggering height of nearly 230 feet, the Wona tunnel tree in Yosemite was a truly breathtaking sight for locals and tourists alike. Rather than let it stand on its own, a tunnel was cut through it in 1881 with the goal of creating a unique attraction. It was a massive success, and people came from all over the country to experience it themselves.
They've seen generations of Native Americans walk by underneath them, and just in the last blink of an eye, it's people from all over the world have started walking underneath them.
In 1969, the 2,000-year-old tree succumbed to heavy snowfall and fell. The location remained popular, with visitors traveling from afar to view the fallen giant. It seems that whether dead or alive, the organism has an allure that can't be denied.
When you walk through the forest and you see a big tree, you're like, oh, that's a big tree. But when you walk through the forest and there's giant sequoias, there's nothing like it. Like, that tree is so much bigger than everything else, and you're just dwarfed by it.
Number 5, Slims River, Canada. Nature's unpredictability is thought to be exacerbated by climate change, leading to some wonders disappearing in the blink of an eye.
Glacial melt, plate tectonics. These things take their sweet time to develop, so when an entire river vanishes in just 4 days, it's safe to assume geoscientists are going to freak out.
Originally born from the Czechala Glacier in the Yukon, Slims River was once a thriving waterway. It sourced its water from the formidable ice block until 2016, when it suddenly began to recede.
Today, its terminus or end is in retreat. So much that the glacial water which used to feed the Slims River has taken another route to a different river, the Czechala, leaving the Slims River basin drier and the lake it feeds, Kluane, thirsty.
This sudden change in flow rerouted all of the water to the Czechala River, sending the runoff into the Gulf of Alaska. Within days, the Slims River had all but vanished, leaving only a dried-out bed.
So what do they call this now? It's not a river.
No, it's more, we haven't figured that one out yet, but it's more of just a creek, right? It's just being fed by some of the local creeks here.
Yeah.
So it's
Slim's Desert.
Nothing like it used to be.
Yeah.
The lake it was connected to has seen a drop in water level as well. indicating that the consequences are far from over. Number 4, the Chacaltaya Glacier, Bolivia. What was once a thriving local attraction is now nothing more than a distant memory. Located in Bolivia, the Chacaltaya Glacier existed for an estimated 18,000 years. The area served as the country's only ski resort, where it entertained citizens and tourists alike, even as it was degrading.
Bueno, hoy es un cementerio porque aquí ya no vemos esquiador, ya no hay nieve, no hay glaciar, más que pura piedra.
While scientists were aware that the glacier would naturally expire, they predicted it wouldn't occur until 2015. But a combination of reduced snowfall and a particularly warm period caused it to melt much faster than anticipated.
If we're going to think about alternatives, then we have to do them right away. The effects are appearing much faster than we can respond to them.
By 2009, all that remained were a few patches of ice. While that's awful enough, it's only the beginning, as several other ice caps in the Andes are also at risk of melting away.
Los glaciares que son similares a Chacaltaya a lo largo de la cordillera real, que forma parte de la cordillera de los Andes, están sufriendo el mismo proceso de derretimiento y muerte que probablemente en el transcurso de los 30 años que vienen.
Number 3, Pink and White Terraces, New Zealand. Once the biggest deposits of geyserite on the planet, the Pink and White Terraces gained global attention as far back as the 19th century.
Our first visitors arrived that you could call tourists in 1838-39. And the one thing those people all wanted to see from that visit and on was the Pink and White Terraces.
Only a few decades into their popularity, they were destroyed. In 1886, the eruption of Mount Tarawera led to the entire area being converted into a giant crater.
What was once the bottom of the lake had dropped as much as 500 feet. Where the lake and terraces had been was now a vast, steaming, sulfurous crater.
Eventually, a new lake and ecosystem formed and thrived, but the memory of the Pink and White Terraces lived on. Excavations throughout the 21st century have reignited hopes that they were merely buried rather than destroyed and could one day be visible again.
It took an underwater robot with sonar and imaging technology to see beneath the silt. The location and scale are true to the originals, and Darwin describes it as the find of a lifetime, a find which could continue to surprise.
Number 2, the Arrol Sea, Central Asia. Some natural wonders degrade over a long period of time and face disastrous effects that aren't noticed until it's too late. Once the third largest lake on Earth, the Arrol Sea has been victim to constant changes in climate and repeated human intervention.
At one time, waves crashed against these cliffs. Now, only the wind sweeps across this desert landscape.
Some geographers had written about its depletion as far back as the 1400s, but those warnings were ignored. The building of canals for Soviet irrigation throughout the 1950s cemented its depletion.
The region is still heavily dependent on this resource. As a result, the Arrol Sea is drying up. In 60 years, it has lost 90% of its volume.
This resulted in disastrous effects on both the Arrol Sea's own ecosystem and nearby communities. While there have been attempts to reverse some of the damage, it's unclear how effective they can be, especially when whole sections have dried out.
As the sea receded, it left behind a thick layer of salt. Hectares of land are now infertile, and the heavy winds sometimes blow away the salty sand.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, the Tree of Tenere, Niger. A careless moment is sometimes all it takes to wipe out a national treasure. Despite the arid climate, a single acacia tree served as the remaining proof of a time when the Sahara received more precipitation.
But around 3000 BC, changes in the climate caused the area to dry up, and gradually all the humans, animals, and plants disappeared, swallowed up by the scorching desert. By the late 18th century AD, only the Tree of Tenere remains, the only tree in an empty wasteland some 500 kilometers across.
The Tree of Tenere stood proudly for hundreds of years and provided a unique indicator for travelers. It seemed impervious to any natural forces, but human activity was another story. It still stood after being struck by a car in 1959, but a subsequent crash in 1973 by an allegedly drunk driver sealed its fate.
Despite having 400 kilometers on either side
outside to go around it. Nonetheless, into the tree he went, broke it clean off, and in that instant, the last tree of Tenere was no more.
In one fateful moment, a symbol of the region's tenacity was wiped out. Now, all that remains in its place is a metal statue, an eerie reminder of the natural beauty that once thrived there.
The tree's death caused outrage across Niger and the rest of the world and prompted the Niger government to recover the remains and place them on display in the Musée National Bobo Hama in Niamey, where they remain to this day.
What natural wonder do you wish you had seen the most? Let us know in the comments.
It's going to be a huge reminder to everyone to come out to your parks, go out to nature, go see what you need to see.